Welcome to The Explainer. We all know companies are supposed to invest in the latest tech, but what really turns that big spend into a big win? Well, it's not some magic bullet. It's actually a powerful chain reaction. And today, we're going to trace every single step of that domino effect.
So let's just dive right in. You see companies pouring millions, sometimes hundreds of millions, into massive systems like SAP and Oracle. But the results? They're all over the map. Why is it that one company completely takes off with new tech, while another's huge investment just fizzles out?
Well, a really cool study from 2024, which looked at 99 different manufacturing companies, gives us a super clear answer. It turns out, success isn't about one single thing. It's a powerful chain reaction. You really have to think of it like a line of dominoes, just waiting for that first push.
And that first push usually starts with something called ERP, or Enterprise Resource Planning. Now, the whole point of an ERP system is to basically act as one central brain for the entire company. It gets every single department, from finance to the factory floor, on the exact same page, looking at the same data, all in real time.
Okay, so let's tip that first domino and see what happens. Now, what's interesting is that the chain reaction doesn't start with your customers or your suppliers. Nope. It starts with getting your own house in order.
The study found that the very first, most direct impact of putting in an ERP system is on how well teams inside the company work together. You see, before you can effectively work with the outside world, you absolutely have to get your own internal processes in sync.
The fancy term for this is internal supply chain integration. But what does that really mean? It just means that when the sales team gets a new order, that information instantly and accurately flows to the production floor, which then flows to the purchasing team. No more silos, just one smooth, connected system.
And the data from this study makes this crystal clear. Now, don't worry about the whole chart for a second. Just look at this one arrow right here. It shows that the ERP system is the direct trigger. It's the initial push that forces all those internal teams to finally get on the same page.
And just how strong is that link? The researchers measured it at 0.708. Now, in this kind of analysis, anything over zero point 0.7 is considered a really strong connection. So what this tells us is that getting your internal teamwork right is the biggest, most immediate impact of that new tech.
But here's the thing. Once a company is organized internally, the effect doesn't just stop at its own four walls. That domino effect starts to ripple outward.
And this just makes sense, right? Once you've got a solid foundation on the inside, you can start building stronger, more efficient, and way more trustworthy relationships with your partners on the outside, your suppliers and your customers. And this is where that chain reaction really starts to pick up speed. The model shows that it's not just the technology doing the work anymore. Now, both the ERP system and that newfound internal harmony are working together to build better bridges to the outside world.
This brings us to external supply chain integration. And this is all about sharing really important information with your partners. Like sharing your production schedule with a supplier so they can get ready, or maybe even bringing key customers into your long-term planning sessions. It's about real, genuine collaboration. Okay, so what's really fascinating is what all this coordination, both inside and out, actually unlocks. It's something much bigger than just being efficient. When information is flowing this smoothly, a company becomes incredibly agile. It means you can respond in a heartbeat to sudden changes in the market, unexpected disruptions, or new demands from customers. You can pretty much pivot on a dime.
And if we look back at the research model, you can see how all the dominoes we've talked about so far, the tech, the internal teamwork, the external partnerships, they all lead right here to this one key outcome: supply chain flexibility. That ability to pivot isn't an accident. It's the direct result of being so deeply integrated. So what's the most important piece of the puzzle for becoming flexible? Well, the data is surprisingly clear. Strong relationships with your external partners have the biggest impact by far. Look at that score, 0.445. That's way higher than your own internal processes or even the technology itself. And it makes sense because your partners can see things you can't, helping you adapt to shifts you'd otherwise miss. This all sounds great, of course, but how does it actually connect to the bottom line? I mean, where's the real payoff for all this work? And here it is. This is the full picture, the entire domino chain, all in one view. The tech investment kicks off internal order, which allows for external collaboration, which builds flexibility. And all of it, working together, leads to the final prize, better business performance.
So which one of these dominoes hits the bottom line the hardest? Well, the study shows it's supply chain flexibility, with a really strong impact score of 0.378. In other words, a company's ability to adapt and change course is what really truly matters most for success.
And right behind it, coming in a very close second, is external integration with an impact of 0.360. This just proves how absolutely vital those deep, collaborative relationships with your partners are for driving actual results. So let's just put it all together, right? While that initial tech investment is the critical first step, it's the flexibility and the strong external partnerships that the tech makes possible that really deliver the biggest competitive punch. Okay, so we've followed this whole chain reaction from start to finish. What's the one big idea you should walk away with? Here's the main takeaway. Buying the software, implementing that new system, that's just knocking over the very first domino. It is only the beginning of the journey. It is absolutely not the final destination.
The real lasting value gets unlocked when you focus on what comes next, using that technology to get everyone truly aligned inside, to build deep collaborative relationships with your partners, and ultimately to gain that strategic agility to handle whatever the world throws at you.
So, the question to leave you with is this. Looking at your own organization, which domino needs the next push? The real key is to stop seeing technology as the solution itself and start seeing it for what it is, the powerful catalyst that can set off a much, much more valuable chain reaction.